I sat stiff in the vinyl chair across from Janet's desk, my hands locked in my lap so I wouldn't start picking at my nails. The office felt unnaturally quiet, just the low whir of her desktop fan and the steady tick of that stupid wall clock I'd stared at every single time she made me wait. Janet finally lifted her eyes from her scream, like she'd remembered I existed. "Thanks for your patience, Emily." I pulled my mouth into a polite smile. "No problem." She clicked around on her computer, dragging the moment out, then angled her chair slightly toward me. "So, we've reviewed your performance from the last year. You've been consistent, especially with the Peterson account. Great work there." I nodded once. "Thank you. That project brought in 2 new clients." She blinked slowly, like she was choosing her next words carefully. "Overall, your performance has been adequate." The word hit my stomach like a dropped weight. Adequate? After weekends sacrificed, late nights fixing problems I didn't create, jumping in whenever she needed something handled fast? Adequate? She continued smoothly. "You're reliable and you execute well, but for this leadership role, we're looking for someone with more visibility and a stronger leadership presence." I kept my expression neutral, even though my face felt hot. "Can you clarify what you mean by visibility?" "It's not just about doing good work," she said, using that measured, condescending tone that always made my jaw clench. "It's about how others perceive your influence. Leadership requires being seen." I stared at her, stunned. So it wasn't the quality of my work, it was whether people noticed it. Janet offered a tight smile. "It's about impact and presence." My cheeks burned, but I nodded anyway. "Understood." "Don't take this as a setback," she added quickly. "This is an opportunity to grow into those areas." I stood, smoothing the front of my blouse. "I appreciate the feedback." She looked relieved, like she'd braced for tears or pleading and was glad she didn't have to deal with either. I walked out without another word. The second the door clicked shut behind me, my hands curled into fists. "Adequate," I muttered under my breath. All those extra hours, all the late-night emails, cleaning up everyone else's messes, none of it counted. I passed my desk, grabbed my water bottle, and headed straight to the restroom. I locked myself into a stall and just stood there, breathing through the anger. My heart thudded hard against my ribs. My jaw ached from clenching it so tight. Fine. If they couldn't see me now, I'd make damn sure they noticed soon. By the time I walked back to my desk, my decision was already made. No more early mornings, no more carrying the team. They wanted visibility? Great. They'd feel my absence long before they ever recognized my worth. The next morning, I pulled into the parking lot at exactly 8:59, not a minute earlier. I sat in my car and watched the clock flip to 9 o'clock, then grabbed my bag and walked in like I didn't owe anyone anything. No coffee run for Janet, no extra charts for her meeting. I dropped my things at my desk and opened my inbox like a regular employee. Not her safety net, not the office problem solver, just another name on payroll. By 10, the pings started. "Janet, did you prepare the Q4 numbers for the 11 o'clock? I stared at the message, then typed back, "No, I wasn't assigned that." Sent. Kyle, "Hey, the Dixon client is freaking out. Can you jump on a call? You're their contact. Let me know if you need backup later." Sent. I leaned back in my chair, popped a piece of gum, and waited. It didn't take long. Kyle appeared at my desk, clutching his phone like it might explode. "Emily, the Dixon call is going sideways. You're the only one who knows their file inside out." "Then maybe you should open it," I said, not even turning from my screen. He blinked. "Okay, but what do I say?" "You'll figure it out." He stood there another second, completely lost, then walked away. A couple hours later, Rachel leaned over my cubicle wall. "Hey, Janet's asking if you confirmed the venue for the leadership lunch." "Nope." "Did you?" "Nope." She frowned. "Are you okay?" "I'm great," I said, and I meant it. I let the office run itself for once. Emails went unanswered, Slack messages stacked up. Nobody knew how to fix the billing glitch I warned them about last week. By noon, the whole floor buzzed like a kicked beehive. I sat calmly at my desk, eating my turkey sandwich like I had nowhere else to be. Janet essentially stepped out of her office, scanning the room like something smelled off. Her eyes landed on me. "Emily, can I see you for a second?" I stood, followed her inside, and stopped just past the doorway. "What's up?" "You didn't prep for the leadership sync." I wasn't asked. I assumed. Maybe you shouldn't assume. Her jaw tightened. "We've always relied on you to anticipate these needs." I shrugged. I'm focusing on what's actually in my job description now. She stared at me like she was trying to identify a stranger. I gave her nothing, turned around, and walked out. The rest of the day, I kept my head down and let the wheels wobble. They wanted leadership presence? Fine, let's see how much presence the company had when I stopped holding it together. Around 4, I opened my calendar and stared at the beach trip I'd booked for next week. 7 days in Miami. Sun, sleep, no Slack. I hovered over the cancel button. The old me would have gone quietly, disappeared while everything burned behind me. That wouldn't send the message I wanted. I canceled the trip, ate the deposit, didn't care. They needed to feel the gap, sit in it, wonder where all the answers went. At 5:01, I grabbed my bag and walked out without saying a word. I walked through the front door at 5:45, keys still in my hand, and froze. The house was quiet except for the low hum of the dishwasher. Maya came running from the living room, socked feet sliding across the floor. "Mom!" I dropped my bag and smiled. "Yeah, it's me." She checked the clock like she didn't believe it. "You're home already?" "Yep." Her face lit up like it was Christmas. "Can we do something?" I paused. "Yeah, what do you want to do?" "Cookies. Let's bake cookies." We pulled out bowls and flour and butter. Maya dragged over her step stool and climbed up like she owned the kitchen. I tied my hair back and opened cabinets I hadn't touched in weeks. By the time we started measuring brown sugar, she was humming to herself. "How was school?" I asked. "Boring. Gym last period. Dodgeball. I got out first." I smiled. "Sounds like my meetings." We laughed. The kitchen filled with the smell of vanilla and melted butter. For the first time in months, I felt grounded, like my life wasn't just emails and emergencies. Maya dumped chocolate chips into the bowl with both hands. "Oops, we'll survive," I said. She looked up. "Why are you never home this early?" The question hit harder than I expected. I stirred the dough slowly, buying time. "I think I got used to being busy." "Do you like your job that much?" I looked at her, cookie dough on her cheek, and couldn't lie. "Sometimes, but not the way it takes over everything." "Like me?" "No," I said quickly. "You're the part I keep missing." She leaned against my arm. "I like this better." My throat tightened. I nodded. The cookies came out lopsided and half melted. Maya clapped anyway. "They're perfect." "They kind of are." She burned her fingers, grabbing one too soon, yelped, then ate it anyway. "Mom, can we do this every week?" "Every single week." That was the moment I decided. I wasn't building my life around a desk anymore. We ran to the store for milk, drove home as the sun dipped low, cookies in our stomachs and quiet in my head. The next morning, I was back in the parking lot, same routine. I watched the clock hit 9 before stepping out. Inside, the office felt frantic, too loud, too rushed. I sat down, unlocked my screen, and Slack lit up immediately. "Janet, need you to look at the Henderson file ASAP." I didn't answer. "Kyle, client wants that updated timeline from Friday. You have it?" Then Rachel, "System's throwing errors. Did you update it last?" I took a sip of coffee and closed Slack. By 11, the place looked like it was unraveling. People whispering, urgent emails flying. Kyle knocked on my cubicle wall, sweat already on his forehead. "Hey, did you change the file path on the shared drive? I can't find the Dixon contract." "Nope, but you're the one who—" That's not mine anymore. You'll have to talk to ops." He stared at me. "Seriously?" "I'm serious." At lunch, I ate alone in the break room. Usually, I'd be bouncing between calls, huddled over Janet's calendar, fixing whatever mess someone else created. Not today. I scrolled my phone while the microwave hummed behind me. People passed by the glass doors and looked in like I was some kind of exhibit. No one came in. Good. By 2, Janet's tone had changed. She called me 3 times. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail about the billing error causing serious friction with the clients. It wasn't friction, it was a crack, and I'd stopped filling it. The best part? Nobody knew where the documentation was. I'd always kept it neat and labeled, but they never paid attention. Now they were clicking in circles, running around with nothing to hold on to. At 3:30, Rachel stormed by, muttering something about nobody knowing what the hell's going on. I leaned back and watched her disappear around the corner. They were starting to feel it, the absence. I didn't need to yell, I didn't need to quit, I just needed to stop showing up in the way they'd gotten addicted to. By 4, I had 23 unread messages and 6 flagged emails from Janet alone. She kept saying the same thing. Need your input, need your direction, need your fix. Not my problem anymore. I packed up at 5 sharp and shut my laptop. As I zipped up my bag, I looked around the office one last time. Everyone's still scrambling, still clueless, still acting like their safety net hadn't just walked out from under them. Let it collapse. Let the cracks turn to holes and the band-aids fall off. If they wanted to understand my value, they needed to feel the whole damn system shake without me. I slung my bag over my shoulder and walked out without looking back. I walked in the next morning at 9 on the dot and didn't even make it to my chair before Ashley showed up at my desk. Her eyes were wide, mascara smudged just enough to tell me she'd been rubbing them. "Emily, I need help," she said. "The Franklin account is blowing up. They changed their requirements again and I don't know what they want now." I set my bag down and logged in. "Did you loop in compliance?" "They're not answering." "Then try legal." "I already did. They told me to come to you." I finally looked up at her. "Ashley, this isn't mine." She dropped her voice. "You always handle this stuff." "Not anymore." She stared at me like she didn't recognize who she was talking to. "So you're just not going to help?" "I just did," I said. "I told you where to go." She stood there for a second, jaw tight, then nodded once and walked away without another word. No yelling, no drama, just reality hitting her in the face. By 4, Janet was done pretending. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then rang. I let it ring. A minute later, Slack lit up. "Janet, we are in crisis mode now. I need you available. Janet, this is not the time to pull back. Janet, call me immediately." I typed one sentence and sent it. "I'm focused on my assigned responsibilities." That was it. The client didn't wait long. By noon, Franklin escalated straight to management. People were whispering about losing the account, about how much revenue it brought in, about how bad this looked. I kept working, quiet, focused, clean. Kyle stopped by slower this time, less attitude. "Hey, I know you're doing your thing, but respect. You're not wrong." I nodded. "Thanks." Rachel followed later, arms crossed but voice calm. "I don't get what you're doing, but I see it now. We leaned on you too hard." "Yeah," I said. "You did." She gave a small smile and walked off. Janet finally cornered me after lunch. She blocked the aisle between cubicles like she'd planned it. "This ends now," she said. "You don't get to check out when the team needs you." "I'm not checked out," I said. "I'm checked in to my job." Her voice sharpened. "Your job includes leadership." "No," I said. "It includes results. I delivered those." She leaned closer. "You're hurting the department." I didn't flinch. The department is hurting because it was built on unpaid overtime and invisible labor. She straightened up, eyes cold. "You're being difficult." "I am being clear." For a second, I thought she might yell.
Instead, she stepped back and said, "This conversation isn't over." "Good," I said. "It shouldn't be." She walked off, heels sharp against the floor. The rest of the afternoon, people stopped asking me to fix things and started figuring them out slowly, messily, but on their own. Ashley passed my desk once more, holding a stack of notes. "Compliance finally responded," she said. "We're handling it." "Good," I replied. There was something new in her face, not relief, respect. By the time 5 hit, the office was still tense, but quieter, less frantic, like they'd finally realized the net wasn't coming back. I shut my laptop, stood up, and slid my chair in. They were learning, and this time I didn't rush to save them. As I walked out that evening, still calm, still not rescuing anyone, I barely made it to the elevator when my phone buzzed with a calendar invite. Subject, meeting, Byron B. Time, 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Location, Regional Director's Office. No notes, no explanation, just Byron's name. The next morning, I wore all black, blazer, slacks, low heels. Not cute, commanding. Byron's office was on the top floor. I'd only been there once during orientation. Now I walked in without hesitation. He stood when I entered.
"Emily, thanks for coming." I gave him a nod and sat down across from his giant glass desk. The room smelled like old leather and money. "I'll get to it," he said. "I've been watching what's going on downstairs." I raised an eyebrow. And it's a mess," he said, "but an eye-opening one." He leaned forward, arms on the desk. "We knew you were good, Emily, but we didn't realize how much the department leaned on you until you pulled back. You've kept that place glued together for longer than anyone saw." I didn't smile, just waited. He reached for a folder and slid it toward me. "Here's what I'm offering. Senior Operations Strategist. You'd report directly to me. Full remote flexibility, double your current salary." I opened the folder. Salary number was real. Benefits upgrade. Total autonomy over team structure. Byron watched me carefully. "We can't afford to lose someone like you." I let the silence stretch. Then I looked him in the eye. "I appreciate the offer," I said, "but if I'm being honest, this could have come a long time ago." "You're right," he said. "It should have." "I was told I didn't have enough presence," I said, "that I wasn't visible enough. But somehow when I stopped doing all the invisible labor, everyone noticed." He nodded. "That wasn't handled well." "No," I said, "it wasn't, because it wasn't about visibility, it was about value, and mine was ignored." Byron sat back. "I can't fix the past, but I can make sure you're in the position you should have been in all along." I tapped the edge of the folder. "I need time." "How much?" "A few days. This offer is good, but if I accept, it's going to be on my terms." He tilted his head. "Such as?" "I don't just want a title and more money," I said. "I want the authority to rebuild that department the way it should run. My processes, my team." He smiled just a little. "That's what I want you for." I stood up, folder in hand. "Then I'll let you know soon, Emily," he said before I walked out. "You've got leverage now. Use it." I didn't answer. I just walked to the elevator, heart pounding. Not from nerves, but from power. Real power for once. They finally saw what I'd been trying to show them for years. Now the question wasn't whether they wanted me, it was whether I still wanted them. The elevator doors opened back on my floor, and I stepped out, still holding the offer folder like a live wire. I didn't even make it to my desk. Janet was already waiting, arms crossed, tight smile, eyes doing that fake, calm corporate thing that always meant something was about to blow. "Emily, got a minute?" I held up the folder. "Not really. I need to talk to you privately." She walked toward the side conference room without waiting for my answer. I followed slowly and shut the door behind us. She turned. "I want to acknowledge what's happened these past few days." "Do you?" I said, her lips pressed together. "Look, I get it. Your absence made an impact." I raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to put it."
But, she added quickly, you have to understand, I made the decision I thought was best for the team when I passed you over. I sat down. No, you made the decision that was easiest politically. That's not the same thing. I don't owe you an apology, she said, arms still crossed. But I do want you to know your contributions didn't go unnoticed. I leaned back. The visibility issue was real. Leadership isn't just about doing the work, it's about showing others you're doing it. I wasn't hiding, I said. I was too busy fixing everything everyone else dropped. Janet's jaw tightened. You didn't play the game. There it is, I said. It's not about performance, it's about politics. She shifted, clearly annoyed. You want honesty? Fine. You were too low profile. People didn't talk about you enough in the right rooms. Because I was busy keeping your department from collapsing. I know that now. I waited. She sighed, then reached into her bag and pulled out a paper. I'm offering you the promotion, effective immediately. Senior Project Manager. I stared at it. Now? Yes. What changed? You know what changed. I folded my arms. Too little, too late. Her mouth opened, then shut. You passed me over when it mattered, I said. You saw me as a workhorse, not a leader. Now you want to fix that because everything fell apart without me. I'm trying to make it right, she said. No, you're trying to cover the fallout. Janet looked genuinely frustrated now. Emily, don't throw this away just to prove a point. This isn't about proving a point, I said. It's about making sure I never let someone else decide my value again. You really think you'll find better somewhere else? I already did. Her eyes flicked down to the folder I was holding. Byron? I didn't answer. She gave a forced smile. You won't be protected the same way up there. I don't need protection. I need control. I stood up. Thanks for the offer, but I won't take scraps just because they're handed to me after the fact. Janet nodded stiffly. Then I wish you the best. I don't need your wishes, Janet. I needed your respect months ago. I walked out of that conference room without looking back, and this time everyone saw it. I closed the conference room door behind me and didn't go back to my desk. I walked straight to my car, folder still in hand, and drove home in silence. Windows down, no music, just the sound of wind and the kind of clarity that shows up after everything else has burned. By the time I pulled into the driveway, Maya's bike was tipped over in the yard, and I could see her head through the living room window, bouncing to whatever show she was watching. I sat in the car another minute before pulling out my phone. Sarah, best friend, last text. Want wine or whiskey this weekend? I hit call. Whoa, she said, picking up on the first ring. Did you just voluntarily call someone? Shut up, I said and smiled. I need to talk this out. Hit me. I leaned my head back against the seat. They offered me a new position. Byron did. More money, remote, total authority over ops. Damn, she said. Took them long enough. It's a big step, but I don't know. Staying there still feels like a betrayal to myself. Is it, though? She asked. Or is it just finally cashing in on what they owe you? I didn't answer. Look, she went on, you're not going back into the same job. You're going in with leverage, and Byron, he's not Janet. Use that. I don't want this to look like I won, I said. It's not about beating her. Then make that clear, set the turns, fix what they kept breaking. She paused. You wanted power. Now you've got it. What are you going to do with it? That sat heavy. I'll call you back, I said. The next morning, I asked Byron for a meeting. He cleared the afternoon. He stood when I walked in, that same polite executive smile on his face. I'm taking the role, I said, but with one condition. He nodded. Go ahead. I want my own team, I said, not Janet's leftovers. I'll build it from scratch. And I want control over the entire operations system structured my way. He folded his arms. That's what I expected you'd say. I'm not interested in a title for show. If I'm doing this, I'm fixing what's broken. I'm giving you that runway, he said. Just say yes. One more thing, I added. This isn't a revenge arc. I'm here to work with Janet. He gave a short nod. Noted.
I stood to leave. He extended his hand. "Welcome to the next level, Emily." I shook it once. "We'll see." That weekend, I sat at the kitchen table with Maya building a Lego castle while my work laptop sat unopened on the counter. I thought about leaving altogether, finding a clean break, a fresh company, no baggage. But something kept pulling me back. This time, I wasn't just a cog in their machine. I was the one with the blueprint. By Sunday night, I accepted the offer. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was selling myself short. I felt like I was finally setting the price. Monday morning, I didn't walk into a department. I walked into my department. New title on the door, new team waiting. Byron had already announced it in a company-wide email, and the buzz had barely settled. First thing I did was strip down every process Janet built. No more closed-door approvals, no more hidden workflows. Everything went transparent. Task ownership, project timelines, feedback cycles. Then I created a mentorship system. I called in the folks no one ever noticed, the quiet analysts, the overlooked interns, the ones who always had good ideas and bad managers. I gave them a seat at the table and made it clear, if you do the work, you get the credit. One by one, things started changing. Projects that used to stall moved fast. People spoke up more. Deadlines stopped being last-minute emergencies. A weekend, Janet knocked on my office door. She didn't look smug this time, just neutral. "You're getting results," she said. I looked up. "That surprise you?" "No, just different seeing it up close." I nodded. "Difference the point." She hesitated. "Let me know if you need anything." "I will," I said. She walked off. No sarcasm, no power plays, just acceptance. Felt strange, but earned. By the end of the quarter, my team's performance outpaced every other department in the region. Byron made me a permanent seat at the executive table. I didn't say much in those meetings, but when I did, people listened. One afternoon, I found myself standing in front of a training session I'd built myself. Slides, tools, real-life breakdowns of how I used to handle chaos alone. Only now, I wasn't alone. I had 10 new hires watching me like I was the blueprint. And yeah, I was. At 5:30, I shut my laptop, picked up Maya from school, and said yes when she asked if we could stop for frozen yogurt. That used to be a maybe. Now it was non-negotiable. She looked at me, spoon in her mouth, and said, "You seem happier." "I am," I said.